How many podcasts have we done, Will?
I don't know, about 4 or 8.
Pretty sure we've done at least 15 or 16.
No, it's got to be more than that. 23?
No, you know what this is? This is episode 42.
Oh.
This is the Television Enthusiast Podcast, The Weekly Set.
Episode 42, recorded February 4th, 2016. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Weekly Set Podcast. This is episode 42 of TV Enthusiast Official Podcast. I am your host, Tyson, and joining me today, as always, is Will.
Hi.
Today, we're going to be talking about a little bit of news, what we've been watching, a lot of Expanse talk, and going over what's coming up in the next week, which is a little bit light. It's we're kind of towards the end of the winter season as far as stuff coming out, so there's not a lot. But we'll go over what is coming out or coming back. So let's start off with some news. So first off, this is kind of like the worst news of the bunch, which is that Time Warner Cable, apparently, this is a rumor still, is looking into buying, I believe it's a 25% stake in Hulu. The reason this is bad news is because in the rumor, the intended purpose for this is for them to kill off day after viewing, which is like Hulu's best feature probably for cord cutters, you know? It's what allows you to watch like Flash or Arrow or any show basically on network TV and some cable shows. The day after it airs, you can watch it, you know, that way instead. So Time Warner Cable losing subscribers, seeing the cord cutting kind of revolution taking over everything is like, let's try to nip this in the bud, or let's try to slow the tide a bit. And the strategy seems to be, let's ruin Hulu.
Yeah, let's ruin Hulu. This is awful. This is old media giants, you know, like just being dinosaurs, you know.
Yeah.
This is dinosaur country. It's horrible. It's the worst. I hope it doesn't happen. I'm gonna cancel my Hulu subscription if it does happen, because that's the only reason I have it. If I wanted to watch TV shows like the whole season after they aired, well, that's what Netflix is for.
Yeah. It's ruining the kind of main purpose of it, and you know, it wouldn't even have that much of an effect as far as like it would just be more of an annoyance than anything else, because most of these networks put up the same stuff they put up on Hulu on their own site.
Yeah, exactly.
So you'd still be able to go to some other site and do it. Well, I mean, I guess you might need authentication at that point, which you'd have to have either your Time Warner Cable or AT&T or whatever subscription, but this is just kind of a bully move. I'm hoping this is just not even true. It's still a rumor. This isn't like a confirmed thing, and it's a rumor that they're considering doing. So it's not like, you know, even if the rumor is proven true, it hasn't happened. You know, it would be like if the rumor is true, it's something that's being talked about and being worked on. But it seems like something I could see Time Warner Cable or any of these other kind of dinosaur services undertaking. It would be a real shame. I think this would kind of kill Hulu. Yeah. Which is unfortunate because they're just starting to get into original programming, and the stuff they're getting looks really good. Right. With, you know, what is it, 11/23/62, I think is the first one.
That looks fantastic.
And The Path, which looks amazing and has Hugh Dancy in it, and it's like, you know, Will Graham from Hannibal, which is, you know, looking forward to seeing him on TV again. And it would suck if they got nipped in the bud right now, you know?
Yeah, totally. It would totally suck.
On originals right now that I think they could possibly do okay. I mean, it would be a pretty heavy blow, but they might be able to just kind of keep things rolling. Amazon would be they kind of sell content as well, and you do the shipping through Prime and all that stuff, so I don't think it would have that much of an impact on them, and they kind of have their originals now as well. But for Hulu, something like this would hurt them very badly, because they don't have that much original content yet. They're just starting to roll into that, which is, it sucks because Hulu's had kind of a troubled past as far as dealing with, like, it's kind of like this many-headed giant. There's like all these different corporations that have their heads in there, and they're all trying to kind of, you know, adjust things to work in their way for their favor. And Hulu somehow survived that, which is like, seems impossible, and actually became a pretty decent service. And right now they're kind of like at the peak of how good they've been, and it's looking like they're going to get better with the original content. And it's finally gotten to the point where it's like, yeah, Hulu's totally a worthwhile paid subscription right now, and this would pretty much just kill it.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, it sucks. Speaking of getting into the original programming game, YouTube rolled out their debut lineup for YouTube Red, their premium subscription service, and boy, is it terrible.
I think the real selling point of YouTube Red, because YouTube Red is actually kind of worth it if you really look at the whole picture. It's not the original content, it's the fact that you can watch YouTube ad-free. And it's a streaming music service like Spotify.
Right.
Basically. So you're paying about the same rate as you would pay for like the commercial free version of Spotify, but you're also getting YouTube ad-free and horrible YouTube Red originals.
Like Unicorn Island, or A Trip to Unicorn Island. And then there's Scare PewDiePie.
Of course, there's a PewDiePie show in there.
Of course. This struck me as interesting about it, though, because in the description it says it's a reality adventure series from the creator and executive producers of The Walking Dead.
Well, have you seen the trailers for any of these?
I haven't. It says, apparently premise says PewDiePie encounters terrifying situations inspired by his favorite video game.
That's basically what it is. So it's a docu kind of series, or a reality show in which basically these people that are involved in things like The Walking Dead are making like scary situations. It's kind of like they're making custom, like, you know, have you ever gone to Universal Studios when they've done like their Halloween Horror Nights or something?
Absolutely not. I am not that lucky.
It's kind of like that, or like those haunted houses that they do, like the paid ones that are really over the top. Right. It's kind of like they're making those custom for PewDiePie. Oh. And then he's going through them and getting scared.
Well, that's nice, I suppose. I would like to be rich enough to have people behind professional TV shows make custom haunted houses for me.
And then you get paid for going through them?
And then I get paid for going through them, yes.
It's like that old bit Louis C.K. did, or he did a comedy bit where he was talking about how, like, he was so broke that the bank took the money he had left in his account and then charged him because he didn't have enough money in his account after they took the money out, you know? And then if you're rich and you have money in a bank, they give you money for having money. Yeah, and they're like, hey, have this asshole's $10 too.
Pretty much.
Which is true. I mean, anybody who's lived paycheck to paycheck, you know, I've experienced that where I've gone under the minimum balance, then been charged because I was under the minimum balance, and that drafted me, and then I got charged for that. So, I mean, it happens, you know, that kind of stuff. It's bull. But yeah, we see the opposite side with PewDiePie here, where he's so rich and influential right now that he gets custom mazes made for him. He goes through them, has a blast, and then gets paid.
And then I know, right?
So backwards to what anybody else experiences, but hey, you know.
Hey, you know, right?
It's the American dream.
At YouTube, Rick. Yeah, just don't get, just watch out with making the React video.
That's been resolved now too. What Will's talking about is the Fine brothers who do the React videos, like Kids React and Elders React, which is something I get frequently addicted to. I'll just like sit down and watch like 20 of them just because for some reason the format is like super addictive for me. But oddly enough, I've actually been watching a lot of like rip-off ones that are like Koreans react, or like, which is just kind of funny to see Koreans react to like American barbecue, or, hardcore pornography from the West.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's kind of funny. So, but that's kind of the stuff that they were combating against with this copyright claim, which was people that were basically ripping off the format of their show. And they were kind of they copyrighted React. They did this whole thing, but they kind of stepped way over their boundaries with what they were doing. There's huge backlash. They lost like 1 million subscribers or something pretty heavy.
400,000 last time.
Yeah. And they ended up taking it all back and saying, okay, we're not doing that.
Yeah, okay.
I think their intentions were a lot better than people were feared, but it was like a scary, you always talk about the slippery slope,
right.
You make one choice and that leads you to the possibility of another really bad choice, and that's exactly what that was. So it's good that it's dead.
Right. Yeah, it's good that it's dead.
Regardless of their intentions being good, which is I feel they were, it's good that it's dead because that could have led to some very bad things. But yeah, that's another YouTube related thing. Let's talk about some more good news that's been going on here. We finally got the official confirmation now that the Flash is going to appear on Supergirl.
Yes, this is exciting. And it also means I need to watch Supergirl since I haven't watched an episode past the pilot.
And we got to add Supergirl to our comic book show.
Well, it's mostly because Supergirl isn't on Hulu, and so I forget it exists.
Oh, that's right. CBS has their own paid subscription. I don't know what they make available for free, or that might be a rough one for you.
Yeah, that might be a rough one for me. I'm debating adding it to the TV because then we'd be at 5 shows for this thing, and I'm like, that's getting a bit much.
We should talk about that episode at least.
We should, yeah.
Maybe we'll skip everything else, but we'll talk about the episode he shows up in.
Right.
And I do watch the show, so if something comes up that's actually relevant, if they make a reference or something, then we can do that. But it's kind of weird because, like, they've already had the toy maker in Supergirl now.
Really?
And he's already been in... Hasn't he been in Flash or Arrow, the toy maker?
Toy maker. No, actually. Or is it
that's a clock guy that was on? Okay.
Clock King. Yeah, toy maker. Actually.
That's right. So they haven't had the toy maker. Okay. So I first I was like, I don't know if that would work because they already had the toy maker on, know. But,
you were like, contradiction, and then nope.
No, yeah, I was just confusing those two. But yeah, they're going to limit their pool of what they can use if they want to kind of keep these combined, unless they do something weird like Flash shows up because he breaks through another dimension or something, which they could very well do, and that would allow the two shows to be kind of separate still.
He's got these portals all around. I mean,
they go to Earth too, but there's no saying he can't go somewhere else.
Right. Earth 52. Well, in the current DC universe, in the comic book, there's 52 different universes, and that's why
one for every week of the year.
Yeah, that's why it's called. That's why their current run is called the New 52 or something. But so there's 52 Earths. So this could just be one of those 52 Earths.
Yeah, it could. I mean, there's lots of ways they could do this. I'm really interested in it, and what they're going to do with it. Supergirl's okay. I mean, it's totally marketed to a different kind of audience. Honestly, like I know some people when it was first talked about that they could cross over before Supergirl aired, people were like, oh yeah, they just want to do that to give a boost to Supergirl. It's kind of the other way around. As successful as The Flash is, Supergirl's a CBS show, and even like a poorly rated CBS show that's still getting ratings, which Supergirl is actually a highly rated,
Yeah,
does way better than CW shows. So this is actually probably going to be better for The Flash than anything else.
You're going the opposite way around.
Yeah.
You can tell they wanted to do that. I remember when Supergirl first premiered, or they were getting to premiere it, they did that magazine shoot with her and Grant Gustin. So they were like, this was always something they wanted to do from the beginning.
Interesting that there was never any rumors or talk about Arrow. It was always
well, The Flash makes more sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Than Arrow does.
Yeah, it's just tonally too. It's much lighter tone, and there's more reason that the Flash could end up in a place like that. So yeah, it definitely makes more sense.
Although I am surprised Stephen Amell has not been campaigning to appear.
That would be funny. They need to have him show up. So we got another piece of news here. This is another comic book related thing. FX's Legion. Now this is the FX or Fox and Marvel collaboration.
Oh, these are
cable TV series
the X-Men TV series.
No, this is the other one. There's two.
Well, Legion is still based on X-Men.
Yes. It's Magneto's son, basically.
Yeah.
Whereas the actual X-Men one that's going to be on Fox is rumored to be like X-Force or something, like another team of mutants kind of thing. Where this is going to be kind of a little bit like they've already said this is not going to be connected to the film universe at all.
Really? Why have this?
I guess just the story. I don't know, but there is some reason for excitement, though. I'll get to that later. That's old news that I just realized my reason for excitement. But the news that came out is that they just cast Dan Stevens, who shows up in Downton Abbey, in the lead role as Magneto's son, which, they could very well just make it like he's just some guy and not even reference Magneto or, I don't know, whatever. But they also cast Aubrey Plaza from Parks and Recreation. Positive out. And Jean Smart, who is in Fargo, the season 2 of Fargo, as a therapist that deals with both of them.
If I remember, the two shows were Legion and Hellfire Club.
That's right. It's not X-Force or anything. It's Hellfire Club. Hellfire Club's the one that's going to be on Fox.
Yeah.
And this is FX. But here's the crazy news that like somehow I completely missed like last year. Is that the showrunner for Legion is Noah Hawley, who's the guy that did Fargo, the Fargo TV series.
Interesting. So this could be really good.
So that's part of why I think like it might actually be better that it's not connected to the X-Men movies, because I can't imagine Noah working in somebody else's box like now.
Actually, I was thinking too. I was thinking, since this is a collaboration with Marvel, because Fox doesn't have the television rights for X-Men, Marvel does. So they had to collaborate with Marvel on this. It might be like a stipulation from Marvel saying, well, this has to be its own thing.
It could, or these could be separate things. Like they could have, as part of the deal, they could have said, hey, well, let's do this one. This will be unrelated. And the one on Fox might be directly tied for all we know. Or it might not. I mean, maybe it's tied to Legion, but not to the movies. Who knows?
We don't know the description for both shows was like extremely vague on whether or not it had any connection to the film.
But just the old news that Noah Hawley is going to be the one being the showrunner is the biggest news to me, and I don't know how that got by me before.
I just wonder how that's going to affect Fargo now.
Well, apparently they're pretty far, like it's a pilot order, but they're actually pretty far into their episode order, and season 2 of Fargo, like where he wrote every episode of season 1, he did not on season 2.
Oh.
And the quality didn't slip. So it's saying that he was starting this back when Fargo season 2 was in the writing process. So, I mean, based on the quality of Fargo season 2, which most who have seen it, including myself, think is better than Fargo season 1, this might not have any negative effects. It could be like the anti-Flash and Arrow divide, where the quality of Arrow dropped, We might not see a quality drop at all. So I think it's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to it now. I think before I kind of had almost no interest, and now I'm kind of like, okay, this is on my radar. More news here. We've talked about before, Lionsgate looking into buying Starz. Well, they've made their official overture to Starz to initiate acquisition talks. That's the quote from Variety.
Okay.
So yeah, they're officially going for it now. It's not a set thing. They're going to go over pricing. Valuation is what it's called, where you try to figure out how much a company is worth, and then you usually have to pay over that to a certain amount, sometimes double. It depends on how much they're in demand. But yeah, Lionsgate is looking to acquire Starz. What's interesting here is that Starz is actually losing a lot of their content right now. Disney ended their deal with them. It still goes through 2016, so they're still going to get Star Wars Episode 7 and stuff is going to be on Starz before it's on any of the other, like HBO and stuff like that. And, you know, some of the Marvel movies and stuff like that.
Starz has the deal with Disney.
But that ends after 2016.
Oh, okay.
And the only company that still has content deals with Starz is Sony. So Starz used to have like the best content deals. That was the thing. It was like, you know, HBO original content, Cinemax, like, you know, it was like softcore porn, and they started getting into action series. Showtime was kind of like trying to do the more, I don't know, I guess more mature HBO in the sense that it was all like more contemporary adult stories.
No, Showtime was doing good shows that turned to crap halfway through their run.
Yeah, but they've been recently trying to get into stuff like The Affair, like these real kind of heady dramas where it's like HBO's been going like more like high profile, like these kind of really big concepts.
Very high HBO's been very high concept.
So, but Starz they've always been the one where they had a little bit of original content, and, you know, they've almost always had something really good on. They had, you know, Spartacus and Party Down, Da Vinci's Demons was pretty good, but now they have Ash vs. Evil Dead, and they have American Gods coming up. So they've always had something kind of good going on, but their main selling point was that they had like the best lineup of like huge blockbusters and stuff. Like, you know, a new, you know, Avengers movie comes out, it's going to be on Starz before it's on HBO or something.
And it's funny because when I signed up for Starz on Amazon to watch Ash vs. Evil Dead, is when I just realized it. It's like it hadn't occurred to me that like all the stuff that's been missing on HBO, everything has been on Starz this whole time, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so Starz is losing that, but they're pushing into original content pretty heavily. As we said, I mean, American Gods might as well be like my most anticipated show pretty much ever now. Just because I loved Brian Fuller before, but after Hannibal, like, he's just on this whole other plane. And where I anticipated Hannibal, because I liked Brian Fuller, I like Brian Fuller more now, so it's like I'm like super anticipating American Gods.
And also like the material that he's adapting. This is American Guy. It's Neil Gaiman. This is already some pretty.
Who himself is directly involved too.
Yeah, who himself is direct. This is already some pretty heady, trippy stuff, like Neil Gaiman stuff tends to be. And so taking something that's already got that bent and then having Brian Fuller, it just seems like he's just got to take it to 11.
It's super exciting. And then, like we said, they already have Ash vs. Evil Dead. That's going to have a second season. Super fun show. I mean, it's looking bright for them in the original content game. It looks like they're starting to get up to a roll. The interesting thing about Lionsgate getting involved with them is that Lionsgate bought the TV rights to the Kingkiller Chronicles, which is like a really good fantasy book series. It's, you know, had a lot of buzz recently. To adapt it as, like they said, movies, TV, whatever. If Lionsgate's buying Starz, then that means that's likely where it would go. And that would be another huge feather in the hat for Starz. So, that's formal talks going on. I think it would be a good thing. I think they would also open up, Starz to get Lionsgate's lineup of films, which is decent. I mean, they don't make as much as they used to, but they still have some pretty big hits in there. But yeah, so that's good news. My next piece of news, Louis C.K. dropped a series out of nowhere. Nobody had any idea he was doing anything, that there was any show in production, that anything was going on. All of a sudden, he sent out an email to people who subscribe to his site, basically saying, description. Everyone's like, what the fuck is this? And then it instantly went into this whole $5 for a single episode of television. And that kind of became like a talking point. And then, it started going back and forth, and all this conversation was kicking up just basically because he provided no information, and that caused a flurry of information from people like dissecting it and downloading it and checking out what it was. And what it turns out to be is that this is a completely self-financed show that he did with like a huge list of, big actors. Steve Buscemi, Alan Alda, Jessica Lange, Stephen Wright, Nick DiPaolo, and Edie Falco are all in this show. And it has an original theme by Paul Simon. So it's pretty crazy. He released the first episode for $5. He recently came out and said the reason why he charged so much is because he is completely self-financing this. He needed to get funds going so he could keep doing it, basically. So he needed to do that. So he said the second episode is going to be $2. And then after that, it's going to be $3, which is about the average rate for like an HD show on iTunes or Amazon or something. So yeah, he's doing this basically what some shows do with Netflix and stuff, except instead of through a subscription model, you just buy in the episodes, DRM free, direct to the source. This is pretty crazy and new. The other thing is that they're filming it like right before putting up. They're literally filming it, editing it, no promotion, just putting it straight out immediately as soon as it's done. So there were like bits in this episode where like there was like somebody mentioned that Donald Trump had dropped out of the Iowa debates and stuff, which is like super current. So they're kind of pulling a South Park here.
Oh wow, crazy!
In that they're getting it where they're going to be relevant right up. He says they're filming episode 2 now, and it'll be out this weekend. So that's pretty crazy. Early reviews are basically saying it's amazing. People are calling him like the new Woody Allen, like he's the auteur that like everybody wants to work with now. And people have said like they've compared it to like Cheers, but said that it has this weird like depressing angle. They said like a mix of Cheers and The Iceman Cometh, or like, comparing it to all sorts of eclectic things. So it's getting a lot of buzz on it. This is something I kind of want to check out. That $5 price though, even though I fully understand his position on it, that's pretty steep for me.
Yeah. It is pretty steep, $5. Yeah, I agree. But I don't know. If it's that good.
Look at the cast.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Louis C.K.'s in it himself, Steve Buscemi, Alan Alda, Jessica Lange. Jeez.
Yeah, the cast is amazing, definitely.
Yeah, and Paul Simon doing the theme, and this is just I don't know. And Louis C.K. kills it with pretty much everything he does. So he's just on fire. So it's interesting. He's kind of like the punk rock guy in the TV industry right now. Like everyone's kind of, it's like, oh, is it going more towards streaming services like Netflix? Is it going this way? And he's like, here, I made a show myself. Give me $5 and I'll give you a first episode. It's just so out there, and that's so him. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool.
Let's move on now. Let's talk about what we've been watching this week. So, I had The Expanse on here first. Let's save that for last because I want to save our biggest discussion for then. Let's talk about The Magicians first. Now, when I last talked to you about The Magicians, due to screeners, I was ahead of what was out. You're now currently up to what is out. I'm still an episode ahead. I'm not going to talk about that. But you've now seen the third episode of The Magicians.
Yes.
That kind of goes into the situation with the female lead and her brother.
Yep, and her brother. We find out exactly what happened to her brother, the circumstances behind his disappearance, and we get a sort of resolution to that entire mystery, which I thought was interesting because I thought this was something that was going to, be like a season-long mystery or something. But in the third episode, you find out exactly what happens, and I thought that's pretty cool. And it's interesting too because it doesn't end favorably for her. she's pretty. The way it's resolved is, it leaves her upset.
Yeah, definitely, and that's clearly like a thread for something bigger moving forward throughout the season. This kind of split between her and Quentin, the main lead, based on his decision. Spoilers for those who haven't seen the third episode, to basically merge her brother's spirit with this talisman, rather than try to turn him, because he just was like, no, your brother's gone. There's no way to fix this, and he's going to kill you. And her perception is, I can't give up. I need to fix him. I need to find a way to return him. And even though it's not going well for her, it's family, so she's not going to see that.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So this is a clear divide between the two of them, and she kind of leaves at the end. She's like, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out totally.
In addition to that part of the episode, we're seeing more of Quentin's old friend and kind of the deterioration of their relationship.
Oh yeah, that's right. They had like a pretty big falling out at this episode because she fell in with these witches.
They call them, I think, the hedge witches.
Yeah, they call them hedge witches, I guess. But yeah, they're kind of like,
they're like bottom feeders. They're like looking for any scrap of magic they can find.
Yeah, any scrap of magic they can find. The one guy there from the school, he kind of, snobbishly looks down upon them.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. He's great character. He's just
great character.
Yeah,
great character. But he's just like he is classically trained, and they aren't trained at all. They're just bottom feeders living on scraps. Yeah, pretty much.
And so basically, Quentin very coldly calls out his old friend on her basically, not being able to accept that she's not the best at it and she's not getting everything that she wants.
Maybe that.
Which if you consider the second episode and how he was desperate to hold on to his memories when he thought he was going to be expelled.
He's a bit of a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Surprise. I'm not surprised that he's a hypocrite. I understand like her need to because she's been exposed to the reality of everything that she can't let go of it. And I thought it was kind of presumptuous for him to say, well, you just weren't good enough to get into the school, get over it. And it's like, yeah, F you, buddy. I'm on.
That's all the rage from being friend zoned for so long.
Yeah, I know, right?
I think almost every guy that's been friend zoned knows that kind of rage that he was feeling that was bottled up.
That's a friend zone rage, and now he has something over her, so he's going to use it to unleash all of his pent up frustration from being friend zoned for so long.
Yeah. That's exactly what's going on there. In addition, there was the way they were able to find the hedge witches was hilarious.
Yes.
A volume of a book that was stolen, which we saw, I believe in the second episode we saw the book was stolen. But the book has a mate. The second book in the set.
I mean, when he said that, I thought, okay, I didn't think anything of it when he said the book has a mate, and I'm like, oh yeah, well yeah, there's another book in the set, and then the book's gonna locate the other book, and then when they started humping, that came out of left field. I got to admit. Then the earlier line where he said they had a mate made sense with where they were going with that. I'm like, oh,
yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So that's good. The Magicians is good. I can't wait to talk to you about the fourth episode. Another really good episode.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Maybe my favorite so far. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the fifth episode. I don't have any screeners, so I got to wait 2 weeks for the next episode. It's killing me.
Tell SyFy to give you more screeners.
Yeah. So I have to wait for the next one of that. But yeah, let's move on from that to Colony. Now this is one I'm kind of sad about because today I was supposed to kind of be involved in a conference call where I was going to talk to Carlton Cuse about a Colony. That didn't end up happening because I don't know, something got mixed up in the mails, and I wasn't given the directions for actually how to get into the call. My RSVP didn't get returned, so I don't know if it was just too late on it or what happened, but for whatever reason, I did not get a chance to get into a conference call with Carlton Cuse, which kills me because he was one of the showrunners on Lost, and I had so many questions to ask him.
That sucks.
Yeah, so I'm upset about that, but I have been watching the series anyways.
So
I'm up to date. The new episode, which is what they were, I think, mostly going to be talking about in the conference call, comes out tonight or is on tonight. By the time this podcast is up, it'll have already aired the night before and be available on Hulu or something. Colony's good. It's kind of roughly, it looks like it's like an alien invasion story, except it's more about like this occupation of Earth. And what's interesting is that they kind of obfuscate the aliens or whatever it is that's that is how do I put it? That's stationed over them, that's kind of controlling, that's occupying them, the occupying force, whether it's aliens or we don't even know what they are. They've never said what they are. It's advanced technology. That's about all we know. Then there's people that kind of work for them, and that's the kind of bad guys you see in the series, the ones that enforce and are cruel and do all that. They're not the aliens themselves so much, or whatever they are themselves, as they are the people that are working for them.
Right.
And you have this kind of oppression story, and it's kind of reminiscent of, you know, if you've ever seen stories about, you know, East and West Berlin and the Berlin Wall, because like all these different areas are cut off, and they put up these walls basically overnight, I guess. And if you were on the wrong side of the wall, then you're separated from. It's not like one. They have all these different zones. So there's like Santa Monica and Los Angeles, and there's all these different zones. And the main character, Josh Holloway from Lost,
right,
Sawyer, his character is trying to get to Santa Monica from Los Angeles because his son is there. His son is in, and so this has been, you know, this occupation or whatever has been going on for a while when it starts. I mean, I don't think they've told us exactly how long it's been, but it's been a while, like probably a year or more. And this whole time, his son's been by himself on this other side, like, you know, and he has no idea if his son's okay. He can't communicate with him. He can't do anything. And so he's trying to get across. So he finds a way to smuggle himself across. But because this is an occupation and there's like a resistance and all that stuff, he gets mixed up in that whole situation when the truck that he's on, that he's like sneaking through to get through into Santa Monica on, there's a bomb on it and it blows up, and he ends up getting caught because of that by the occupying forces.
Right.
And basically they're now forcing him to work for them. And if he doesn't, then he and his whole family will be sent to the factory, which is this place that nobody returns from. It's said that it's like a labor camp kind of thing, but we don't really know. I mean, for all we know, it could be like a Soylent Green situation. We have no idea what the factory really is. It's all just kind of vague, you know, ideas, but it's terrifying, and nobody wants to go to the factory. And that's kind of one of the terrifying things about this occupation is you do anything wrong, you break any laws, it's not just you. They send you and your family to this place. So there's a lot of fear going on, and this advanced technology involved in the oppression. So there's very little you can do. And yeah, I mean, it's just kind of interesting. This kind of like almost third world conditions that start to pop up. Like one of Josh Holloway's kids, I think is diabetic, and they need insulin for him. And so they have to get it in this kind of black market way because insulin's not sold anymore and it's all been locked off.
Oh, wow. Crazy.
And so she has to like try to find this black market way of getting it. So it's interesting like how you get into this kind of like, this is Los Angeles, but this is like, Los Angeles turned into, what you'd see like Africa represented as, like with these kind of warring tribes and everyone. But you have the other aspect, which is that, nobody can be like overtly violent without bringing the attention of these the oppressors. And basically, so there's a point where she's getting scammed by the person that's trying to, I'm saying she, Josh Holloway's wife, who's played by Sarah Wayne Callis from The Walking Dead, is trying to get the insulin, and she gets scammed, and she realizes the insulin's no good.
Oh, that's
and she wants her money back, and the person won't give it, and so she pulls a gun, and everyone like freaks out. It's not like everyone's pulling out guns, but it's like, put that away, you're going to get all of us killed.
Right.
It's like the idea, like the aliens are going to detect that somebody has a gun, and then they're just going to wipe out everyone there. Right. It's not like, a matter of taking out the target. It's like, no, any possible sign of resistance, it's done, So it's interesting, like the kind of fear that they live in. And it really does kind of have that, like, I don't know, like if you've ever seen Brazil, the Terry Gilliam film, or, dystopias like 1984, or, like I had mentioned before, that's the kind of like, or like East and West Berlin,
Right. No, I get what you're talking about. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a pretty good show. I think the pilot had a few weaknesses. I think there's still a few points where it's a little weak in certain areas where, like they get maybe a little too happy with like little vague terminologies they use, which is kind of par for the course for a show like this, unfortunately. But, it's a good show. It's interesting. There's a lot of places it can go, and I'm sad I didn't get to talk to Cuse.
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, yeah, that's disappointing. Maybe next time.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, in the meantime, anybody that does want to watch Colony, you can watch some of the episodes, I think, on Hulu, but they're missing some, I think. But like, I think USA.com has all of them. So the 4th episode is airing, I think, like right now, while I'm recording this. So if by the time you listen to us, it should be up on USA's website. Moving on from Colony, I got a chance to watch the X-Files reboot. Have you watched any of these episodes?
No, I haven't.
So I was kind of reminded about everything that is dated on the X-Files and the first couple episodes. Like there's stuff that just doesn't work anymore, or like, so many shows have copied certain things that X-Files has done and kind of evolved it over time to the point that like when you see it on X-Files again, it's not that it's like, oh, it's not doing as good as it did before. It's just, it doesn't work anymore, like it feels kind of dated.
Right.
So I was a little kind of disappointed in the first episode, especially with that. Second episode was a little bit better. Third episode was amazing. Third episode was like the comical X-Files episode, the standalone funny episodes that you would get every so often. The closest thing we have to that now is like Supernatural, where like, when we have like a trickster episode of Supernatural, it's just hilarious. Remember when X-Files used to have those type of episodes?
I never watched the X-Files.
Oh, X-Files used to have those kind of like really ridiculous one-off episodes. Every so often they'd have one. That is the 3rd episode of this season. If you are kind of hesitant to watch the X-Files, or you're not sure about this reboot or something, I'd highly suggest checking that one out. You don't have to have seen anything else to see it. It's kind of standalone. It's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I think it's called something like, Fox and Scully versus the like lizard beast or something. It's really, really funny. This reminded me of like the best parts of the X-Files, and my own understanding of X-Files is a little bit dim just because I've mentioned it before in the podcast when we had Kat on here, where she was like, kind of a super fan of the original series. For me, that was back in the days when you either taped it on a VCR or you watched it live and that was it. And later on, of course, they all came out to DVD, and some people went back and rewatched and stuff. I never went back and rewatched. So I come from that state of like, I saw some episodes, I missed some episodes. Sometimes I forgot to remember episodes and reruns. And so that was kind of my X-Files experience. I don't have the complete picture. So I don't have everything there. And it's been years since I've watched it. So going back in was a little bit rough because like there's parts going on. I'm like, I don't remember any of this, like when it starts getting into specifics on certain things. But yeah, that episode killed it. So highly recommend you should check that out, Will, too, as well, Will. Just that episode. Don't even bother with the rest.
Not even bother with the rest, even though I don't.
Yeah, if you don't know X-Files and the other ones that have come out so far really won't have much meaning to you. But yeah, that episode is just a great standalone episode of television. It's hilarious. It's just got a lot of guest appearances that are really funny. Yeah, it's good. Let's talk about our main kind of topic. I just did a review for this, The Expanse. This is the one we're kind of putting off for last in our discussion here. Finished its first season. Will just caught up like literally right before we started the podcast. Got through the whole season now. I had been able to see the last 2 episodes early thanks to a screener and got the review up just as it was airing on TV. So I got that up, was able to do my season review of it. So you can check that out on the site on TVEnthusiast.com. You can see my season 1 review of The Expanse. But I'm interested in what Will thought because I've been kind of stewing on all these things that have been happening in this series this whole time. And the last thing Will had seen before when we talked about the series was like episode 4, which of course was like an amazing episode that involved this destruction of this Martian warship and had all sorts of shocking moments in it. What do you think of the rest of the season?
I thought it was pretty good. The destruction of the Martian warship was still the best moment of the season. It was like the most holy shit thing. Yeah. I don't think the rest of the season has that like holy shit moment. But other than that, I thought it was solid all the way through. I wish I knew more about the people behind the conspiracy and what their motivations are.
Season 2.
Season 2 is like 2017 and 2016 just started. So that's kind of like really.
Yeah, it's gonna be a ways.
I mean, we got an idea of what they're doing, but it's still a lot of it is still very vague. And I'm like, argh.
So episode 8 ended with like a few really kind of cool. I mean, nothing on the level of the events that happened in episode 4, but a few like cool, like wow kind of moments. One is that these different groups that were in the show, in different groups, like things taking place on Earth, and this one group in the belt, and then this group on this ship that got blown up, and them trying to survive. 2 of those groups crossed, which was like a moment, like when you get to see those characters cross. It's kind of like when you see, Daenerys and Tyrion like meet up for the first time, and you're like, yes. You want to see this, like you want to see them kind of work out their stories with each other and figure out what's going on. So it's kind of really cool when that happened. You also got at the end of that episode, you finally find out what happened to the very first person you see in the series as a whole.
Yeah.
This daughter of this.
You get to find out completely what happens to her. You even get to suffer with her as she dies an agonizing death, and it's like you are like they sit there and they force you to watch it, and it's like really
it's pretty horrific. Yeah,
it's pretty horrific. And I kept saying, I get the gist. I get the gist. Okay.
But you get that there's crystals growing out of her mouth now.
Yeah, there's crystals growing out of her mouth. But it was like that. I think that was like one of the most uncomfortable things to watch throughout the entire season. I'm like, But
we got to also see how everything connected. So we finally got to learn, like, of course, we have more questions raised from it, but we finally got to see who actually did blow up the Canterbury. They didn't actually show what happened with the Martian warship.
No.
It's the same ship. We saw the same ship because that was the first time we saw the ship in episode 4. But we didn't see we didn't see the other side of that story at all in this episode. What we saw was the Canterbury destruction and this Julie is her name. Her making it to her being on the ship, and the detective guy was searching for her, and we got to see her path and what she was doing. And we got to kind of find out what the OPA's role in all of this is, which was always kind of mysterious. It was like, are they secretly funding this like insane like gunship that's like stealth and can take out both Earth and Mars? Like, is that them? No. And you get to find out, no, that's not it. They had some kind of trace of information that somebody had this, and they were trying to steal it.
Yeah, exactly.
And they didn't even really know what it was. And and so we got to kind of see that whole thing unfold. We also in episode 8 and through episode 9 and 10, we got to see like what actually is that thing we saw at the very beginning of the first episode, that kind of weird horror moment that kind of felt out of place with the rest of the series, with this kind of like, mechanical, biological, crystal life form technology thing, and it's like sentient, and we got to kind of see a little bit about what that's about. And then through the episode, from what it looks like this is Earth, because it looks like kind of the president of the UN is like directly involved.
Mm-hmm.
Like we knew it was some corporation on Earth, but now it looks like it's even more than that.
No, it looks like it's even more like Earth, or at least like the guy running the UN is at least involved in this. It's interesting. We still don't know who these people are, what their ultimate goal is. It seems to be setting up war, but for what end?
And they're growing this like life form.
Yeah, they're growing this life form.
In a very cruel way.
Yes.
So yeah, that was fucked up. They bring in all these belters on this like ship, and they're basically like, oh, okay, emergency quarantine, start injecting them with this thing, and then dump them into like rooms and just blast them with arc radiation to grow this stuff inside them. Just really fucked up. Just so they can kind of develop this thing. And, we get to see at the end of the episode, like the last scene we get is, okay, yeah, this form is like fully sentient, and it's like grabbing people and stuff.
It's grabbing people, it's absorbing them into itself. That was a pretty crazy ending there with this life form.
It's the Dark Force from Agent Carter.
It's funny too with this thing, this was pretty grounded science fiction up until this thing gets introduced at the end, and it's like now we're veering into a little more fantastical territory.
Well, it was the first thing we saw in the first episode.
That's true.
It was Julie seeing this thing, and it was always just kind of like, what the fuck is that? And then it's completely ignored for like the next 8 episodes.
That's true. You're right. It was completely ignored for the next 8 episodes, and it's like, oh man, but it's crazy, and that's your setup for next season. It's like, wait till 2017. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard wait, and there's so much good TV coming out along the way. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. While it was on, it was probably my favorite show currently on, in that, there isn't a lot of really good TV on right now. Most of the really good stuff is going to start sometime in like spring. We still haven't gotten Better Call Saul back yet. That's coming in the next couple weeks. Haven't gotten Game of Thrones back yet. Hannibal's off the air, so it's like in kind of the absence of all of those, that was like my every week I was looking forward to the next episode of The Expanse. And so now that's gone, but now we have The Magicians, so we got something else.
Yeah, we got The
Better Call Saul's coming up soon.
Better Call Saul's coming up soon. And also another crazy thing is like this Expanse, it was only technically 10 if you want to split the last episode into 2, since it was 2 hours.
It's like a double episode, so that's like Game of Thrones length.
Yeah, it's like Game of Thrones length. Yeah, which is I think 10 episodes is a nice length for a season of television like this.
Yeah, Jessica Jones should have probably been 10 episodes.
I think it should probably been 10 episodes. So I thought, it's definitely legitimately, like, SyFy has come back with such good content now. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they have a lot of other stuff, but this is the first one that's like, okay, this is like Battlestar Galactica tier quality stuff here. You know, this is like really good, you know, TV. Whereas like, you know, Killjoys and Dark Matter were both really fun shows, but they weren't like, they were just kind of fun. They were just kind of empty calories. And The Expanse is just, it's something you actually want to talk about, you know?
Right.
So, yeah. Looking forward to more of that. Anybody who wants to catch up on The Expanse, I believe that's all on SyFy's website. Where did you watch the episodes to catch up? Do you check those on Hulu or on SyFy's?
SyFy's website, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you can check that on SyFy's website. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend also The Magicians that we talked about earlier, which has been really good. And next week's episode, this coming up Monday's episode of The Magicians, is really good. So if you haven't already, catch up and check out that episode.
Yeah.
Let's see. That brings us to an end of what we've been watching. All we have left to do is kind of talk briefly about what's coming up in the next week.
All right.
So,
what is coming up?
Tomorrow, or today for you, I guess, and for anybody listening to the podcast, Sleepy Hollow is back on Fox, much to my
all right.
Much to my meh face.
Yeah, that's right, my face. Yes.
There's a new series coming to HBO called Animal. That's kind of, it's like an animated series. It's from the Duplass brothers. And yeah, I mean, it looks like it's supposed to be pretty funny. It's getting some positive attention. That's going to come out as well on Friday. And Thursday, February 11th, when we're recording this next podcast, is the debut of the next Netflix series called Love. This is the Judd Apatow.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yep.
And so that's it. That's what we have coming up next week. So check those out. Of course, you know, if you're a sports fan, this week means Super Bowl. Personally, I'm not. Are you, Will?
No, I don't care about Super Bowl.
Don't care about the sports ball. I'll just check out the commercials later.
Right for the football.
Yeah. Not really big for me, so it doesn't really matter. But that's the big TV for people who are into sports. So, but for the rest of us, Sleepy Hollow, Animals, and Love on Netflix. So check those out if you have any interest. That's it for this podcast. Thank you everybody for listening. Be sure to check us out. TVEnthusiast.com. You can check out all of our podcast episodes. You can also check out the show that we'll host on our channel, which is on YouTube. It's called TVE versus Marvel and DC, and it's all about the Marvel and DC kind of interconnected universes on TV. So he hosts that every Sunday, and we talk about those. He hosts on Sunday; they'll go up on Monday, and we talk about The Flash, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, and Agent Carter. Those are the current shows we talk about. When Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back, we'll be talking about that as well. As we talked about earlier on the show, when The Flash crosses over Supergirl, we'll talk about that, though we probably won't talk about Supergirl regularly besides that. And we talk about the Netflix shows when they come out, like Jessica Jones and Daredevil, when those come up. So if you're interested in that kind of side of TV discussion, you can check out our video series. We do that weekly as well. All of that content is on our website again, TVEnthusiast.com, along with articles. You can check out my review of season 1 of The Expanse and some of our other recent articles. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Bye.
Bye.
If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@TVEnthusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more coverage of all of your